And we are live. Fantastic. Welcome back, those people watching. Are there any people watching? Do we know? I don't know. So we are today, my name is Lance Nielsen. I'm one of the co-founders of the Outcasts. I'll be bringing on the other co-founder in a moment, Dickon Tolson. And then we have the power behind the thrones, Suzette Pluck, who's the one with the better teeth. I'm going to keep my mouth shut now because you can't see my teeth. Yeah, we've got some of our cast coming along from Henry's War, and then we're going to have the director of the show, Toby, on again at the end, who was with you yesterday. If you want to see the first interview, it's up on our YouTube channel, the Outcasts Creative. You can find us on YouTube under that name, just using the search bar, very easy. And there's lots of content on there for you to have a look at, including our other shows. Persecution, which was our first attempt at a live show, which we performed during lockdown. When was that?
During the lockdown last year.
Last year. Yeah, well, I know it was last year. I was trying to think when we did it. Was it the summer? And I've got to get this label on in the middle. I always try to do this before we go live, but now it's too far over the other way. What's going on?
It's your head, man.
There we go. All right.
I don't know the month. It's a blur. I'm not going to lie. I'll check.
I think it was towards the end of the summer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that was like a 4 or 5 part drama, which we did online. That was our first experimentation of kind of what can we perform live on Zoom.
Yeah.
And it had its limitations. Getting someone's just sending me stupid texts. Please stop doing that. And then we kind of learnt a lot from Persecution, didn't we?
Yeah. It actually went better than we expected. We realised how much we can learn for future performances from that one within the performance. So that was a very good lesson. Yeah,
and you had to get straight to the meat of the drama, keep the pace fast. Yeah. So obviously there are some things that will work as a kind of a Zoom performance, and there are some things that won't. None of our shows have been kind of set up like they are actually on Zoom or taking place on Zoom, like that fantastic show that was done by David Tennant. And, oh God, why is his name gone out of my head? That fantastic Welsh actor who was also in it. Which one?
Curly hair.
Yeah, the one with the curly hair. Exactly. That's his name. The one with the curly hair.
Thank you.
That was a great show, but that was actually done with them performing on Zoom as a medium.
Yeah.
But we were just doing our scripts, but using Zoom as a medium rather than setting a show on Zoom. We have a show coming up that's set on Zoom. It's called The Warm-Up. It's about a load of actors getting together to do a warm-up for a show on Zoom. It's a bit of a comedy. That's coming up next in July. 2 one-off shows. Going to be a lot of fun. Yes. But today we're here to talk to you about Henry's War, which is an adaptation of Henry V. You can check our interview from last night. It's on the channel now. We're going to be talking to some of the cast about it today. But first of all, we're going to bring in our super uber special guest, arriving by Chinook helicopter. It's Dickon Tolson, who is the co-founder of the Outcasts. Will he remember to put his camera on? We will see.
Who knows? The joy of Zoom.
Dickon, are you there? He is. There he is. Oh, fantastic. Look, he's at his snow mountain retreat in Switzerland. Good.
Hello.
Good place to be for tax. So Phil Collins tells me. Dickon, how are you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you, kind sir. I think I might have got my wires crossed.
We're live on Facebook now.
Lovely.
And we're bringing in our guests in a staggered manner.
Well, I'll stagger a bit then for you.
As they do on actual chat shows. Well, this is the red wine edition, so you can stagger if you wish. It is Sunday evening.
And you tell me, should I have my mirroring on or off when we're doing this?
I think your settings right now are just fine, and we should just get straight into our first question for you.
Brilliant.
What is the solution to world peace in the Middle East?
Please.
Well,
No,
it's a sibling rivalry issue, and God has to step in, and because the siblings are going to argue forever. It's up to
do you want to
to
rather than hear me talk about it for a change, do you want to just talk about how the Outcasts Creative came to be, what inspired you and I to get together to do it, and how it all first came about?
Yeah, we Lance and I had worked alongside or with each other on and off in various ways for years, and we had been going to. I'd been teaching at Timber with Graham weekly every Monday after Dexter.
Do you want to just explain what Timber was?
So Timber was an improvisation class that happened every Monday night, and it was Dexter and Graham's baby. And then when Dexter stopped teaching, Graham asked me if I'd like to teach with him, so we did, and we used to take the classes together. And then eventually Graham left for a while, and I was teaching the classes alone, and I did a couple of plays under that basis. But then he came back, and we did a couple more plays, and we had really good creative hub of people. Now, last year,
left out the bit where I also taught there, and so did Peter Swamignon as well.
Savison. Peter Savison.
Yeah, he's back in London now, by the way.
And gigging. He's back to doing live gigs. He's a smooth operator, but he does lots of stuff. Nat King Cole stuff.
Yeah, he's a good friend of ours and a very talented actor and singer.
Thank you for not cringing too much, Suzette, when I sang a line of dialogue there.
It did go through me, I'm not going to lie.
And Sade used to live in Stanton incidentally.
Ah, cool.
She's a Stokey girl. And last year, Graham regrettably passed away. And what we loved about Graham, he was very honest. He was very down to earth. He was, in his own way, very loving and very loyal person. And when the Timber classes stopped, obviously because Graham wasn't doing them anymore, we kind of figured we wanted to do something along those lines where and it's not exactly the same as what we used to do before, because we used to do often a lot more sort of organic, improvised dialogue and scenes and stuff. But we've got a great writer in Lance these days. And so we decided to form a new company called the Outcasts Creative. Was it creative at first, or was it just the Outcasts?
It was just the Outcasts, and then I think we became the Outcasts Creative to encompass kind of a wider spectrum of the arts, as it were.
So it was more than just theatre. And I think we will still do organic devising processes sometime when we get back into a rhythm. I think there is still space and room for that. But we've got a really good way of working together. I think Lance and I complement each other's talents pretty well. We're quite different people, but at the same time, we do have common elements to our personalities. Like we love people, we're loyal, we're very much people of the heart.
Both got amazing fashion sense and dancing skills.
Yeah, fashion. Suzette looks absolutely shocked and horrified.
Hang on, we need to cut to gallery view so we can see. Can you reenact that face of horror for us, for our viewers, Suzette? I'll give you your view again.
We've got amazing fashion sense, Suzette.
And we complement each other with our amazing fashion sense and dancing skills. Yeah, that was her look. Yeah, it's good. See, those are the sorts of acting abilities that we have learned.
That's what we do.
And the interesting thing over the last year or so is the turn that we've taken into doing Zoom performances and Zoom classes, and treating it with respect, because it has its own it's its own format. Mm-hmm. And it is its own artistic sort of avenue. So if we ignore it, or we just treat it like we're only using this art format because other forms of art aren't open to us, we're not really doing it justice.
Yeah.
So Lance has been amazing, coming up with so many scripts all the time, and we've been doing classes, we've been doing read-throughs, and and now we've got a really good creative set of people that are just lovely, beautiful people. I think everyone feels safe to experiment, safe to be themselves, to express themselves, and at the same time feel safe to tell each other, no, that's not on, that's rubbish, get rid of that. So I think we all feel really safe to experiment and operate within this creative company, and I think that has been fostered by, I think the proof is in the pudding. How we behave, how we interact with people, how we kind of bring people into our fold, I think has really fostered a beautiful atmosphere of creativity. And I think that beautiful people attract more beautiful people, and we're also beautiful, and we're attracting more.
I was going to say, what happened? What happened? Where did we go wrong? Well, we got Suzette. We did all right.
So that's a brief vignette as to why we're doing this and where the sort of road has led us to this point in time now. So it's really important to be here now, not to think about the future and make that, or not to be worried about the future and not to be hung up on the past. We have to be in the moment. And Toby's experience with the Globe has been, I saw him a couple of times doing 2 different plays alongside Mark Rylance. And Toby really is a beautiful person, male or female, because he played a female. And
it's hard to tell with Toby sometimes.
And I really
often think he is female.
I enjoy Shakespeare. I do BTEC courses in Tulse Hill, which is in Brixton, right next to Tulse Hill Estate, working in special education and e-school. And the climax of the BTEC course for me, they could do any monologue, don't tell them that. But what I make them do is a Shakespeare monologue. Right. And I make them write their own version of the monologue. Then they have to learn both pieces and perform both pieces. And to see these kids take a Tomorrow speech from the Scottish play and then do their own version of the Tomorrow speech and write it they're so creative and it's so beautiful. And I say to them, look, this guy was writing 500 years ago, but what's changed? Humans have changed so little in that time. Our emotions, the things that concern us, preoccupy us, it hasn't really changed much. So Shakespeare is still relevant. There's only really 7 original stories, and everything else is just a variation on those original stories that shamans were telling around the campfire.
Shakespeare only do 7 plays.
No, but what I'm saying is every story is an archetypal.
I was going to say, I'm sure there are more than 7.
There's basically, they've broken it down to 7 original stories, and all other stories are basically an abbreviation or an adaptation on those. And a lot of those times it's about technology and time. So where are you set in your historical point of view? Where is your culture? And what technology is running the format of your storytelling. So a shaman might just have shadows and a fire and masks or whatever, but the Greeks had amphitheaters, and now we've got IMAX. You know what I mean? So the format of our storytelling changes the way you tell stories, but the stories are essentially the same. They haven't changed, and that's why when Toby came to Lance and I with the idea about doing this under the creative umbrella of the Outcasts Creatives, it was really exciting. We've done it as a read-through already from Toby's adaptation, which I think is really briefs it down. It doesn't dumb it down, but it makes it a lot briefer. It takes the essence of the play and it's made something quite new, especially when we set it in the Second World War, and it changes quite a lot of the logistics of the story, but it doesn't change the essence of what we love about Henry V as a play. And it doesn't change, I think, the essence of what Shakespeare was saying, which is that war is essentially about profit and gain. And but the people fighting the war have to be brave. They have to, and it takes all sorts in that army to operate as one. A bit like the Outcasts Creative, it takes all sorts of people to make this army, this creative army. So I think Toby's done a fantastic job, and Kenny played the original Henry. I know he's so sad to be missing out on playing a role in the current production, but you know,
he's busy.
He made a massive input on that first run, and that can't be overlooked or forgotten.
No, yeah, Kenny O'Connor we're talking about, who played the judge in 13 Seconds in Kent State. Dickon Tolson, my brother, co-founder of the Outcasts Creative. Thank you for that 15-minute answer to that question.
Would you prefer yes and no next time?
Yeah.
Yes or no questions with the cast. So, of course, right after we founded, we pretty much went straight into production for Borderlands, which I'm now determined to get on in New York and Canada. More on that later.
I know people in Toronto if we want to work there.
I'm already talking, and I've got a theatre in New York that wants to read the script, so I'm resetting it in America right now. So the Outcasts could be going to Canada and America, and by that I mean me and Dickon, basically, because it'll be a local cast.
Carry your bags or something.
Yeah, and maybe Suzette. Yeah, then we did Borderlands. Then we did 2 productions online. Henry's War will be the third time's the charm. So we're going to bring in 3 of our cast now. We're going to bring in Sebastian Storey, Meg, the Spectacles Reid, and the hair Brennan, coming live all the way from Chicago, and Sebastian coming live from the north, horse lands of the north.
Hiya.
And Meg coming live from a tunnel because her camera's not on.
Hey, we have a Meg.
Complete with costume glasses. Excellent. Paul is actually on camera. He's just pretending to be frozen. Welcome, Meg, Seb. Oh, there he is. And Paul, brilliant. Thanks a lot, guys, for giving us your time. Complimentary, of course, on your Sunday evening. I hope you've all finished your Sunday roast. We're gonna do some quick fire questions for you. We want to try and keep this thing under an hour. And Dickon, with his 15-minute answer into our first question, has already cut down your response time considerably. And we'll be bringing in your director towards the end, who was on with us yesterday. So, Suzette, what is our first question for the cast, which includes you, because you're also in the cast? We keep forgetting to mention this. You're actually in the show playing Nell, are you not?
No. But I will not ask myself the question. I will ask.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll ask you the question. Don't worry.
You should not be able to ask a question you're not prepared to answer yourself, Suzette.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Suzette, what's our first question for contestant number 1, and where do they come from?
The first question is, what is your first experience of Shakespeare?
Oh, yes. Fantastic. So,
film or theatre or TV? What's your first
did you first see a Shakespeare play on telly? Was it a Kenneth Branagh movie? Did you get dragged onto a local theatre, heels kicking and screaming when you were 5 years old, but you then said halfway through, this is actually quite good? What was your experience? Paul, in 2 minutes or less.
2 minutes or less. Well, I think in the very beginning, there was a Little Rascals short, I think, that did Romeo and Juliet. I think that was my first taste. And then, of course, finding out that West Side Story was actually Romeo and Juliet. Now, that blew my mind. But more direct Shakespeare, my father was a big fan of Laurence Olivier. I don't know why, but he would introduce me to a lot of the Olivier adaptations. You know, Richard III especially was his favorite. So I, like most people, I guess nowadays, Olivier was the guy. And I saw my first stage production maybe 5 or so years ago at the Filament Theater in Chicago. It was the Scottish play. It was wonderful.
And have you performed Shakespeare before, which is our part B of this question?
No, not.
This is your first Shakespeare.
Wow.
Yeah, I did Cyrano de Bergerac, which was kind of a screw you to Shakespeare. So
yeah, it is a bit. But of course, Cyrano de Bergerac is nothing without the definitive original classic version, Roxanne.
Steve Martin.
Adaptation of Roxanne.
As we know, yeah. And what a great film that was. Meg.
Yeah. What is your answer?
The lovely princess, Meg Reid. That's not her actual name. She's playing the princess in the show. Your first experience of Shakespeare, and had you played a Shakespeare role before this?
Well, when I first knew the name Shakespeare, I remember being in one of those video shops where you like rent a video, and I went.
Oh, yes, I remember those when they called Blockbuster or something.
Oh yes, of course. And I remember like picking one up and saying, "Mum, can I watch this?" And she said, "No, it's Shakespeare in Love. It's too old for you."
And then you picked up Evil Dead and said, "Mum, can I watch this?" And she went, "Yes, that's fine."
Yeah. And then I remember the Scottish play touring around schools, and they obviously came to ours, and I volunteered to be in it, and I was Sir Duncan of something, and I had to hold a trumpet, and that was my very first experience of Shakespeare. Yeah.
Wow. So by that answer, you're actually more experienced at Shakespeare than Paul then. You held a trumpet.
Wow. Well, I held a trumpet. I held a prop in a play when I was 11. So there you go.
First sort of, first West End or kind of, big theatre production of Shakespeare play?
Well, I wouldn't call TIE West End. But well.
I mean, after the TIE thing, what was the next one you saw?
Well, then was obviously the obligatory study of Shakespeare at school for GCSE. So we obviously did Romeo and Juliet, we did Othello, we did King Lear, all of those.
I mean, to study those, what did you do? Did you just read the text, or did you watch film adaptations, or what did you do?
All of it. So I think we watched the Leonardo DiCaprio version, which was obviously, all the girls were swooning.
That's Dickens' favourite version.
Oh, I bet.
I believe, yeah. He's often mistaken for Leonardo DiCaprio, so it's a common thing. Sebastian, your first Shakespeare experience, and if it doesn't involve a horse, I'm going to be disappointed. My kingdom for a horse.
I love that joke that you've come up with recently, Lance. My first real connection with Shakespeare, I think, was when I went to see Henry IV Part 1 live at the RSC when I was about 14, 15. And I had previously really got on a taste for Shakespeare, but that was the first time that I really sort of thought, wow, this is something that's so historic, so old, but it connects so powerfully with modern audiences. And then I think around the same time I watched David Tennant for the first time in Hamlet on DVD, and that's sort of really when I found my passion for Shakespeare. And I love how Shakespeare translated for film as well, so that sort of all occurred around that time, and yeah, I love it.
Fantastic. At last, a sensible and cohesive answer to our question. No, just kidding. All of our experiences, first brushes with Shakespeare are quite unique, and I have a vague recollection, although I said the thing that got me into it was Henry V. I have a vague recollection that there was a series of productions that were put on. Was it put on like ITV? And they were period productions. People were in costume. Dickon, as you're older than me, do you remember those?
Thanks. Not specifically those productions you're talking of, but I remember more avant-garde sort of Shakespearean pieces. My parents took me to see Richard III once at the RSC, and I was really shocked and horrified because halfway through they left. And they said, no, it's rubbish. It's a rubbish performance. I was just trying to get the language. I was just trying to understand what was happening in the play. But they were like, no, it's rubbish. We're leaving. And for that
Who was Richard?
Richard III, yeah. Richard III.
Yeah, but who was playing Richard?
I can't remember. I was a kid. I was like 10.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to Google that now. You carry on.
I just, I was gutted to be leaving. And for that reason, if I start watching something, I finish watching it. I don't leave halfway through. I can't appraise something. I cannot comment on something unless I've seen it in its entirety. And that was born from that experience. But my mum was into free improvised jazz. That's what she used to like doing. And one time she took me to the London Musicians Collective in Camden, very hip, avant-garde sort of free improvised jazz sort of crowd, you know. And they were showing this version of Hamlet. And there was a party going on. There's lots of this going on. I was, as I say, about 10 years old. And I just sat there transfixed watching this really sort of arty version of Hamlet. And it was really freaky. It really freaked me out. The ghost of Hamlet's father was really freaky. It was sort of like every time you saw it, it was more decayed, and it was really dark, and it really explored the dark recesses of people's brains. And I've had quite a dark life in my own way, and so I kind of identified with it. And so from then on, I was definitely a fan of Shakespeare, and probably more than my parents or anyone I knew, because they'd ripped me away. Richard III said he was untimely ripped from his mother's womb. I was untimely ripped from the theatre, so I was trying to get back in there ever since. So yeah, that's how that's my first two experiences of Shakespeare. I've played in Titus Andronicus. I've done the Scottish play. And you do all the monologues and stuff as well.
I have identified that production for you. Anticipating that you would give a long answer to that question, I felt I would have adequate time.
It was under 15 minutes. At least.
Yeah, it was under 15 minutes. Well done, Dickon.
Over.
It's interesting to note Brian Blessed was in that production, although he did not play Richard III. But he was in the production. Stephen Darby, Penny Downey, Rupert Finch, Guy Fitton, etc., etc.
I think my parents just thought it was a boring direction. Yes, that would have been exactly when it was. Yeah. I think they just thought it was boring. It just didn't offer anything in terms of interpretation. It was just a really sort of flat retelling of the story.
Maybe Brian Blessed didn't shout loud enough back then, in his early days.
But that's what you have to do with Shakespeare. You have to make it relevant to now. If you're just doing some historical piece, you might as well be doing it on a history course for school kids. You might as well just be doing it as part of a music.
You've got to make the core themes and the messages of the piece relevant to today. You've got to capture that zeitgeist for the youth, as it were. You've got to make them understand, the core narrative. I completely agree with you on that, 100%.
And there's so many sort of romantic themes, dirty jokes, and fights that Shakespeare shouldn't be boring. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to have the comic relief that runs throughout. You've got to have the dirty sort of frisson between a couple of the characters that's totally inappropriate. And you've got to have a couple of fights. And that way you can keep the audience interested and entertained, even if you're doing a 3-hour production and you're wearing stockings. It shouldn't matter. But if you make it relevant and you make it about now and about what relevance it has to today, then I think you can keep Shakespeare relevant.
Suzette, what about you? What was your, because you didn't answer that question yesterday, what was your first brush with Shakespeare?
My first brush with Shakespeare, I've always wondered why they thought it was okay. But at school, at primary school, we did, I think it's As You Like It. And is there a character called Rosalind in it? That was me. It was a big thing. But I always remember the school I went to, Malcolm Primary in Penge, was absolutely brilliant for music, creativity. I was in the still band, I was in the recorder band, and so when we were doing this big play, I remember thinking, this is really quite big for us. But at the same time, they trusted that our little group of actors was able to pull the performance off. And so that was my first brush with Shakespeare. And I just know the basics, and I live by Stratford upon Avon now, so I'm always wafting around there, trying to soak up. I like to actually go there before we do a performance for some reason, and we're doing Shakespeare, so I might waft down there this week. but I haven't gotten a real knowledge of plays. There's a lot to learn for me, but I'm open to that. And I love what we're doing and what Toby's done with the adaptation of Henry V. And I've watched the Kenneth Branagh one.
What did you think of it? Did you watch it recently?
I watched it when we first did Henry's War, when we did the read through.
Right,
I watched it around that time. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. I prefer our one because we're in it and we got the meat of it from that. But the dialogue is far more comprehensible for people who have not had any knowledge of Shakespeare. Or they've heard of him, but they've never sat through one. I think when they watch our one, they'll be able to fully understand, love the jokes that run through it, and love the passion of Henry that's played by Ed Glennie. So yeah, it's a joy to be part of and actually know what's going on based on the adaptation.
I think we've got a few extra jokes of our own thrown in.
Yeah.
Cool. What's the second question for our cast?
The second question is, who are you in our performance? Who are you playing?
Yeah, so who are you playing? And maybe talk about how you've put your own spin on the role a little bit. Fantastic. We're going to go to the most spectacular spectacles on the planet first. That can only mean Meggie Reid. Meg, you're playing the princess and some other parts, I think.
The boy.
Tell us more.
I'm playing the boy. He's such a great character. He's so young, but he's like the most intelligent one of the bunch of all these soldiers, and he's the one that's actually like understanding what's sort of got that perspective. That's not, there's a load of people fighting outside a pub or something, and he's like the voice of reason within the whole thing, which I love. And he's just so matter of fact and to the point. It's great. I'm also playing Catherine, who I just love the character. I think working with Melissa, who's also playing Alice, like that having her to be able to like bounce off just makes it such a fun scene.
The two of you in rehearsals, it has to be said, have been a joy.
Yeah.
I'm just in fits of laughter.
Yeah.
I know Toby, the director, has been very happy with your performances. It's a fantastic scene. We'll be hearing from him shortly. Excellent. I think the role of Catherine was a role you were born to play, Meg. Researching for that role all your life.
Yeah, indeed.
Sebastian, you're playing a mixture of characters, I believe. Tell us.
I'm going to be playing Montgomery, Scroop, and Williams. And Montgomery, he's got a lot of class to him, but he's quite nervous when he's speaking to Churchill, or our Churchill. He's a really interesting contrast to the other characters, particularly because I work from going from RP with accents to sort of a more me with Scroop. That's quite just quite casually me, I guess. And then Williams, who is very, very broad northern. And I really enjoy getting that, or aiming to get that contrast across. Scroop is, he's the traitor. Spoilers. I think I've just given a big spoiler. But
one of the traitors.
One of the traitors.
I don't want to take anything away
one of the traitors.
The other cad, which we'll hear from momentarily.
Yes. He's one of the traitors. And Williams is a soldier. He's a down-to-earth soldier. He is questioning the war effort in a way, and I find him quite relatable, because in a way he's saying what is the point of war, and it's quite a powerful message. That scene particularly between him and Henry, and then later on when he has another scene between him and Henry. So yeah, it's a nice, diverse range of characters, and I'm really enjoying playing them.
Fantastic, Seb. And of course, you were on our last production, and I just want to say personally, great to have you back. And you know, it's one of these productions where we're all giving up our time for free, and just saying, you know, let's exercise those acting muscles. What can we do that keeps us all flexible, but keeps us busy?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's great to be back.
No, thank you. Bless you. Dickon, to use your Shakespearean enunciation of your name. Believe you're doing a couple of bits in this as well.
One of the agents at Anna Scher's, because I kept doing Christopher Marlowe speeches, and I did do a couple of Shakespeare as well. He kept calling me Dickonian. Oh, Dickonian, how are you, Dickonian? That was my Shakespearean name. Yep, I'm playing Exeter, who is, I think in the original play, he's Henry's uncle. But basically I'm sort of playing a high-ranking officer who gets on, who Henry trusts, which I really enjoy. You know, it's all boys on the field having a, you know, bit of a charge up to the Eagle's Nest. It's I get, there's one really nice speech where I talk about being moved to tears, and I think that's one of the things you rarely see in war films, or you know, there's a play called Our Boys that was at Hammersmith for a while, and what I liked about that is it showed the underbelly of war, as Sebastian was alluding to just now. It's like, what is the point of war? And you know, one of the scenes I get, I want to move myself nearly to tears but not quite cry, because I'm on the battlefield and I'm speaking to my general. So I really enjoy that role. The other role I'm playing, I'm going to say he's the commander-in-chief of the Germans. I'm saying it that way as opposed to saying I'm playing Hitler, because...
Oh, I thought you were trying to avoid a spoiler alert there, but you failed.
I just want to let people know I'm not trying to do an impression like Charlie Chaplin in the Dictator or anything like that. I'm trying to just get the essence of that character and where he sits. He's quite a child. I feel like a child when I'm playing him, because he's lost. And he's throwing his he wants to throw his toys out the pram, but he lost, so he can't. You know, he can't even, like, you know, get up and hit anyone because he lost. And so I like trying to play the essence of the emotion and feelings that the commander-in-chief of the German forces and his journey, but I'm not trying to do an imitation of.
Great stuff. Last but by no means least, we're hearing from our Chicago jury.
Hello, yes. I am playing a traitor, a Nazi, and a loud Irishman, so thanks for the evaluation.
3 for the price of 1 that you've always aspired to do.
Yeah, it's funny because the last show I did with y'all, it was Kent State, where I played a character who gets accused of being worse than a brown shirt, and now I am playing the brown shirt, so it's all come together.
That's pretty nuts.
Yeah, but it's been a lot of fun. Because I don't, you know, the portrayals that Toby is getting out of us, I think, is, you know, there's something broad about them, and something, you know, not adhering to the seriousness and the need to confine Shakespeare to this whole of, you know, taking it utterly seriously and utterly dramatic. It's Shakespeare was a jokester himself, so I think we're playing that.
Yes, and we definitely have a light tone to this production. Well, on the mention of Uncle Toby himself,
just before you carry on, Lance, I just want to say everyone's got some really funny stuff in it, and Paul's depiction of the Germans and they're getting drunk the night before or whatever is absolutely fantastic, as is Sebastian's play a story as he threatens to the King of England, and then St. Catherine's like, oh my God, Meg, you're so funny when you're doing those scenes with the nurse and with and as for Nell, she's just off the wall. I mean, you couldn't play that seriously and play it, you know, I mean, totally within boxes. All those characters that you guys are playing are so fun and so full of, you know, life, joie de vivre. You know, you can't confine it by these rigid rules that other Shakespearean companies would have us play. Sorry to interrupt you, Lance.
That's right. Before we get another 15-minute answer from Dickon, let's just Toby's arrived fresh in his landing craft, ramped down on Omaha Beach. He's changed the picture now. I thought the previous one was better. Let's just hear from Suzette, who was a producer on our last show, but is doing a great role in this one. So Suzette, what are you doing in the show?
And a sweet, lovely, innocent lady called Now Quickly.
Brilliant.
She's a lot of fun. She's not like me at all. And also I'm playing the governor, he hasn't got a big part, but I like his little part that he plays, because he just I can't really talk about it because I give away the spoilers. And I'm also playing Erpingham, who's almost like the right-hand man to Henry, who's just there. Small roles, nice and sweet.
You're channeling your inner soldier for that. All your years of living in Birmingham put to good use.
Birmingham is a joy.
Before we move on, I just want to give a quick shout out to a really super special lady who in many ways is connected to your role, Suzette, and that would be Dame Judi Dench, who envisaged the role of Nell Quigley in Henry V, Kenneth Branagh version, 1989.
Yeah.
So I saw its premiere at the Brighton Film Festival, which was the UK premiere, I believe.
She also played the princess in the first one as well.
She did, yeah, and sort of back on stage, and she's been in numerous, probably more Shakespeare productions than all of us put together, I would think, most people. Judy is somebody who I knew through her husband, because I met him on the set of Henry V on the one day that I was there, who sort of said I had an inspiring conversation with, and kind of really inspired me to sort of push myself further with my career, shall we say. And unknown to Judy, actually, one of the shows that we did as a table read in 2020 when we were all locked up was the play that I wrote the film I wrote for her, which was The Kiss That Would Last a Lifetime, which is on the back of our hoodie. And I think some of us were on that read through. I think myself, Dickon, and Toby were on that read through. And I'm hoping that we're going to do a live private read through of that for Judy for her birthday later this year, because I don't think I'm ever going to get to make that film with her, but I would really love her to hear it, because we wrote the role. And Teresa Cole did a fantastic Judi Dench impression when we did that piece. It was she actually kind of threw her own ego aside and said, actually, I'm going to play this the way I think Judy would have done it. And it was really spot on. It was great fun. That was one of the shows that we did. And she's a lovely woman. I've met her several times. Always gives me a glass of champagne when I go and see a show of hers in the West End. And she really didn't need to do that. And little things like that in the industry really lift you and remind you that there are some proper good eggs out there. So big love to Judy from the Outcasts. I know she's been bottled up in her house in Gatwick for quite a long time. Hope she gets to see this. So we're now joined with our director, who's stroking his Shakespearean moustache, which he's groomed especially for this appearance, Toby Cockrell.
Hello.
Who's also understudying every part in case anybody gets disconnected on the call during the performance. So Suzette, let's throw in our last question and we'll put it to Toby first.
So is it our last question?
Our next question. We'll do two more, I think.
Okay. How are you? Well, Toby adapted it. So the question is, how are you grasping the text? So Toby, who adapted it.
Well, he's already answered that one yesterday.
Yeah.
So let's change that up a bit. So for Toby, have you found working with a cast of mixed level of experience, some of who have had no previous experience of Shakespeare at all?
Yeah.
What challenges has that presented you as a director, especially as you're not directing them in person, you're directing them online?
Yeah, the first challenge, not directing in person, I think is a big thing, especially for me. I'm interactive, I work with people, and, you know, I like to have that kind of freedom to be able to, you know, have an interaction directly. The challenge is, I always see Shakespeare as being something for everyone, and it should be performed by everyone. It doesn't matter if you've done it before, it doesn't matter if you're, you know, amazing at it, or it's just your first ever play. I've been in a number of productions, and I've noticed again and again, the people that really stand out are the people who sometimes don't have that Shakespearean training. Because a lot of us, when we've gone through studying the text, and there's like iambic pentameter, and there's all these sort of rules to the verse and how it's spoken, it can get, for me, it can sometimes get a bit stale. So it has a sort of, you know, a very sort of old stuff. Paul was talking about the Laurence Olivier versions. It's very much like that. So it's all done as this Shakespearean way. And I just kind of really want to get away from that. So I love working with people who have never done it before. That's part of my goal in creating this, and the classes I've been doing with the Outcast and elsewhere, that I want to bring in everyone into the fold. And sometimes it's a challenge to get people with the more Shakespearean experience to break them out of that mold, rather than the people who've never done it before are like fresh, you know, to it. So it's, you know, it's always a challenge, but we've got some amazing actors, and I wish we had more time, more shows, and one day be live on stage together. Yeah. One day.
Well, I'm sure we're going to get to do more Shakespeare in future. I'm certainly looking forward to that version of Much Ado About Nothing set on the Starship Enterprise bridge. So that version should be particularly interesting. And Dickon's looking forward to making the shirts. So, Suzette, what was the question that we had for our actors?
Yeah, how have you been grasping the text, even though it's been modified? How have you found expressing the language?
Okay, so the challenges of working with the text of Shakespeare, reset in World War II. Let's go to the Queen of Spectacles, Megs.
Well, it's definitely been quite challenging, as it's Shakespeare, and you know, it's like obviously the chorus bits, when you hear it, there's still that essence of Shakespeare which is still there. It's obviously been quite challenging, but it's also been very fun in the way that you can hear the way other people are saying the lines, and there's so many different ways you can say the lines and think about what they're saying. And I think that's the most important thing, is trying to actually get across what your character is trying to say, if that makes sense.
Yes, does make sense. You do a great job. But we can't talk about your scene, but they'll see.
It's such a fun thing.
Suzette, same question, sticking with the ladies.
I quite like it. I feel comfortable with it. With my Nell's character, I'm just basically tapping into my South East London thing and just stretching the words, but she's got flow. She's quite passionate about her things, so that gives it an energy to what's the words? And you say your lines, so it gives it an energy. So I find it quite, yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's not been too taxing at all. And the way it's been adapted has made it much more comprehensible for the actor to understand what their character's saying. So thanks, Toby. Thanks, Lance. Yeah.
Fantastic. No, I'm enjoying it myself as well. Paul.
Yeah, I've been grasping it with both hands. It's been a delight going back between, because it's not just the complexity of the language that has been so well translated by Toby, but Shakespeare has been great at creating diverse characters and using language to establish the diversity of those characters. And Toby has also translated that quite beautifully. And the fact that I get to jump between, you know, this angry Irishman working for the English, this angry Nazi, I guess all Nazis are angry in some way, but, and it's a joy finding the personality in all those words that, are still so present despite present with all of the archaic Middle English stripped away. It's a lot easier and enjoyable.
Middle English? What do you mean? How dare these Americans come in and make these sweeping statements about
Am I wrong?
I've no idea.
Yeah, no, it is. It's Old English, but yeah, it's interesting. Whenever I performed Shakespeare before, there's been a lot of discussion about how it sounded in the time. And they had a very different way of speaking, but also a different accent to what we do in modern day. They compared it to like a Bristol accent, or a lot of people have said it sounds like Americans sound now. So American accent lends itself to the original text quite nicely. I work with a lot of Americans who, you know, just it's something about the soft flow, the softness of the accent, you know.
Yeah, but the rhythm as well.
I hate Americans reading Shakespearean text. That's why I can't watch Romeo and Juliet, the Baz Luhrmann one.
So
you won't be watching yourself back on this
version.
Received pronunciation wasn't even invented till after Shakespeare. So and it was sort of based on a couple of different accents. So to try and say that that's how it was written, and that the RSC should have some monopoly over it is bonkers, basically.
Yeah, I think it also does that thing where it takes it away from people who don't identify with that part of society. If they, you know, it makes them feel a little bit uneasy, and they, oh, I don't know about Shakespeare, I don't understand it. It's all a bit, you know, and that's not true. It's for everyone.
But Paul, I love your turn of phrase in all your characters, and you did it really well in the last production as well, the Kent State. You have a very sort of offbeat way of delivering your lines sometimes, and it just makes it really interesting and compelling. So I think, you know, you've lent yourself really well to this part, in my opinion.
Yeah, what I like about Paul as an actor is he never goes for the obvious choices.
Yeah.
Which is something I teach people on my acting tuition. Available, book me, find me on Facebook. And Paul always comes up with something different. Whenever he reads a character, it's never what I would expect. Yeah. And I like that. Fantastic. Let's go to Seb on the same question. How are you finding the text of Shakespeare, Seb? First time reading it?
Well, Shakespeare's text is always very, very exciting to work with. It's a very exciting challenge. And, you know, there's always such interesting secrets within Shakespeare's works. And one of the things that I find really fascinating about Shakespeare's works, I mean, like take Hamlet, for example. You know, did Hamlet really sleep with his mother? Was he really seeing the ghost? You know, like stuff like that I find really, really, you know, compelling within the text. So I always enjoy working with the text and finding what's underneath it. Within our production, one of the things that I find really fascinating in the scene, one of my later scenes, is where I'm trying to think of it without revealing any spoilers at all. But when we're on the battlefield and we're getting very up close and up front, and it's quite soft in some ways because of the nature of the setting. And I think that's a really, really interesting way of working with Shakespeare, particularly with it being online and on screen. It's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Seb. Fantastic. I think that was everybody that answered that, unless I missed anyone. Suze, let's go to our next question. We've got a little
Dickens raising his hand.
Oh, say what you need to say.
What was that? Dickon say he hasn't answered it.
I haven't answered this question.
Yeah, but you used up your answer in your 15-minute answer earlier. So,
well, yeah, I want to use this time not to plug myself like you do, but to plug someone else.
Well, you've got to get him in there. If you don't blow your own trumpet, who will?
Well, I always hope my girlfriend blows my trumpet. Anyway, good digression. Listen, I just wanted to say that for me, accessibility of language is the most important thing in Shakespeare. And as soon as you understand what your character has to say, you'll find the emphasis and intonation to do that. And I found that Toby's Shakespeare acting workshop was very good at helping to explain the speeches that we were about to embark on. And I think we can all do it, but Toby found a very clear way to break speeches down line by line and to expose the true meanings underneath, which then gives you the opportunity to find the right intonation and emphasis in your speeches to reveal the language in its full colour.
It's very concise.
Yeah, that was good. We like concise. Concise is fantastic. Sue's next question.
The next question is, what are your future plans? Well, and the mixture, how has being part of the Outcast benefited you during this time of a pandemic? And what gains have you got from spending time with us on Zoom?
Fantastic question. No wonder you're Suzette Pluck. And we'll throw that one to Toby first. Keep your answer under 2 minutes, otherwise all the other people won't get to go.
Okay. Yeah, I've said yesterday and a million times, the Outcast for me was a saviour. You know, we went to classes just before the lockdowns, and amazing what we do. But this online space that you've created is a dream for creatives when you're stuck in your house all day long in lockdowns and this pandemic that's been happening. What was the other part of the question?
What's your plans, man?
My plans for the future with the Outcast. I'd love to keep doing these. I'm really happy to hear from people today and yesterday how much they are getting out of what I'm doing. You know, it's really nice to get that feedback, because that's what I love. And I'd love to do more of these. We've had another reading of a play that I call The Storm, and you have to guess what Shakespeare play that is. And that one's already in the bag. But I can't wait to get back to normality where we can all be on stage together as well and try them out in person and all of that stuff. But this space is great. So yeah, next is whatever we've got next. Bring it on.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay.
And let's ask Meggie.
Meg.
Well, definitely this particular production's given me something to look forward to, especially the way the arts industry has been affected by this situation, and how a lot of us have been feeling very almost trapped in circumstances that we can't control, and having this to actually be like, no, we can actually still do things that we love. It's definitely given me something to look forward to every rehearsal, and being with people that are so great as well, and being able to work on things that I love. It's been such a pleasure, definitely.
Thanks, Meg. That's honestly, I can say, all joking aside, as I'm known to be a bit of a joker, those kinds of words mean a great deal to myself and Mr. DT. Because, when you create something, you never really know what people are going to get out of it or how successful it's going to be. And the funny thing was, actually getting people to come to a physical location in 2019 is always quite difficult. And we set a limit that our class would be never larger than 24 people. I think we got up to 20 on a couple of goes. I'm not sure how many classes we did in total before the lockdown hit, but we were running every week, but our average was probably around 12 to 15, which was still a nice number for a class. But when we started doing the table reads and then productions online, the beauty of that was that we were able to reach out to people anywhere in the world. We've had people on them from Australia, America, Hawaii, and other locations. Paul's in Chicago now. He'll tell you about his Al Capone story in a moment. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's crazy to think that now we've kind of connected with people who couldn't necessarily have dropped into our class in person. So there's been some benefits that have come out of the pandemic in a way. There's been a way of connecting with people that we wouldn't have thought of. And Zoom was around a lot longer than the pandemic. It was going for a few years. And I never would have thought of, I mean, I'd never heard of it. So I never would have thought of doing this kind of thing live online. But it's been a real, I'm not going to use the word blessing because obviously the pandemic's meant a lot of negative implications for a lot of people. You know, horrible debts and things of that nature. But there had been positives as well that have come out of it. I think it's brought out the best in some people and the worst in others.
Yes.
Boris Johnson. Oh, sorry, I coughed. Then I do apologise. Yeah. So if that sounded like anything, it's purely coincidental. Yeah. Who has everyone answered that question? I don't think everyone knows. No. Who's next?
Let's go to Paul.
Paul.
Well, I mean, just the fact that, you know, working with the Outcasts has let me act. It feels like it's been a year and a half since I had been able to act. And not only that, but act with an international cast. That has been an amazing reward. And now acting Shakespeare with an international cast. It just keeps getting better and better. And getting to work with so many creatives, you know, and, you know, I never would have gotten the chance to do so. So I'm not grateful to the pandemic, but I'm grateful that I had a connection in Chicago, Paul Carr, to connect me with y'all and how warm and embracing you have all been, despite the distance.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you as part of the Outcast, Paul. I know I'm speaking for both myself, Dickon, and Suzette when I say that. And that goes for all of the new members, Sebastian, Meg as well. You're all kind of part of you're the younger generation of Outcasts, the next wave. We talk about the second and third wave of Anna Shares. You're the second wave. We've had the second wave of the Outcasts already. And that's the online guys that have come in. You know, you're going to be really missed at my birthday party, Paul. Can tell you that now. We're going to somehow we have to set up a laptop in the pub so that you can be on it somehow. I don't know how we're going to do this, but Seb will bring some sophisticated electronic device and he'll get you on it. I know he will. He'll sort it out.
I'll just bring my laptop and we'll do it on that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So and you know, make sure you got your 20 quid ready for PayPal for my Lego set, my Sisley Spaceport birthday donation. Cool. Who's next up, Suzette?
Sebastian, who's getting his 20 quid.
Zed, get in there.
So we're still on the future plans.
Well, it's kind of how have you found getting involved in the Outcasts and what have you got lined up next? I know you're a busy boy. You've got loads of things always.
I'm just trying to keep busy, you know, because it's been so hard for all of us in the pandemic. I mean, since I graduated drama school last year, I've always been, you know, really, really excited and prepped to move forward in film and television. And now that theatres, touch wood, are hopefully going to be opening back up too, it'd be incredible to work on some Shakespeare on stage too, and you know, because Shakespeare's works are always such timeless stories, and that's, you know, that's why I'm loving this production so much. I'm going to be working on a couple of planned film projects next year too, and that's coming along, which is great. I've loved working with the Outcasts on the last two online productions. You know, it's kept my spirits up so much. It's such a hardworking team, and it's given me the chance to work with such a wonderful team of artists. And I've learned from the experience too. With Kent State, I had the chance to really think about such an important piece of American history. And, you know, being across the pond, you know, being all the way over in the UK, it was really just like, whoa, for me. And then working with Henry's War, I've had the opportunity to work with one of my passions, which is Shakespeare in a modern adaptation. And that's been fantastic. You know, I love Shakespeare in its classic setting. And, you know, sometimes those little touches that make it a little bit more modern. And then even when it's translated into a full modern adaptation, there's so much to play around with it, and there's so much you can do with it. So yeah, the Outcasts, I'm very, very grateful.
Oh, bless you, sir.
You.
I think Dickon and I are basking in all these compliments tonight. You can actually see, if you look closely, Dickon's already got a tan.
Playing his own
Start
trumpet.
of this.
He'll get his cocktail.
Fantastic. Has everyone answered that question?
Has Dickon answered the question? How's it been for him coming online?
I thought he answered it first, didn't he? What was that? Go on, Dickon. Get in there.
Yeah.
Who knows what the future holds? It really is all up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing I can say is that this should be how we view life anyway. And the fact that it's taken a pandemic for us to realize that life is fragile and unstable and we don't know what tomorrow brings, has, in a way, a blessing in disguise. Because, you know, when I say, for example, I'll see you on Monday, I say, God willing, I'll see you on Monday, or I should see you on Monday, I hope to see you on Monday, because we just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I've had friends who've gone to bed and died at night. I've, you know, there's twists and turns. We don't know what's happening. And we have to just be thankful for what we have. And the fact that I can exist and that people may possibly remember me is a beautiful thing. And it's wonderful to witness these beautiful people doing their creative stuff, because I will remember them.
Yeah.
And hopefully we are gathering memories and we are putting our flags firmly in the sand. The sand dissipates, the flags die, but what we're doing is creating beauty and life, and we cannot take it for granted. And I'm glad that the one thing that I can get from this pandemic is that people are really starting to wake up to the fact that we can't take anything for granted. People, things, futures, we cannot take them for granted. So I think that's a positive for humankind. I think it's positive for the Outcasts, because we move forward with creative vigor that if we just took it all for granted, we might not have that vigor and energy and desire.
Very, very well said, Dickon. And actually, if you go to the moon, where the Americans planted their little flag, you know, and they've got their little buggy there that they left up, if you go and look there now on Google Moon, you'll actually see there's a bigger flag that says "fuck off, we're the Outcasts," and it's bigger. It's actually covering the American flag. So we've gone up there and we planted our flag.
Just
we're going to keep planting our flag until people listen. Great stuff, Dickon. Fantastic. Was that our last question?
Yes.
I think it was. Brilliant. So we've got a couple of comments. Rez Kempton, that name sounds familiar from somewhere. I'm not sure where. Says, you guys create a great environment for us. And then a mysterious man who has the initials EG says, absolutely, Shakespeare should feel utterly alive. In fact, I have it confirmed he's been resurrected, and I'm having a chat with him now, and we're drinking tea. So that's a pretty good result on its own. So for those people watching, Henry V is on Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. It's performed live, which means if we fuck up, it's all going to be on camera and you'll get to enjoy our befuddlements as we try to correct ourselves. It's starting every night at 7 o'clock. There'll be a bit of a lead intro to allow our audience to germinate, as it were. There's a 10-minute interval, running time of about 2 hours. 4 performances, 4 live performances, all going to be slightly different. Toby's hair will be different in every single one as per normal. But only one of the performances will stay online. There's going to be a bit of an actor's bun fight over which one we decide to keep up. No, I was better in performance 3. No, I was better in performance 1. It's got to be one stage. So only one's going to stay on our channel. Maybe we'll let the public vote to decide which one. Fantastic. Final messages from anybody. Meg, ladies first.
Final messages, goodness. Wow.
Final thought of the day. Put you on the spot now, so everybody else prepare your statements.
Wow. Wow, it's a fantastic production. It's really fun. It's such like a way of Shakespeare that you can just watch and just enjoy, rather than watch it and be like, oh, what are they trying to, like, you just can sit there and enjoy it as well as be part of it. And that's what I have to say, really.
Brilliant, Meg. Thank you. Sebastian.
Final message from me will be stay safe, stay creative, and stay fantastic.
Oh, I love that. That's brilliant. I think we should put that on our next hoodie. Suzette?
Well, I am thoroughly enjoying it, and it's really interesting getting to watch the other scenes and watching them adapt and evolve and still laughing, still feeling, and still knowing that the actors are still holding back a little. Because when we go live, that's when we've got the adrenaline pumping. So do come along and watch it. It is a lot of fun. We are having fun doing it, and that will resonate through the screen into your lives.
Fantastic. And we'll go to Dickon.
There used to be a cop show called Hill Street Blues, and they have a morning briefing. And at the end of the morning briefing, he always said, hey, let's be careful out there. Well, I'm saying, hey, let's be creative out there. And we are creative. You will see our creation. It's on 4 nights. You don't have to go anywhere. It's absolutely for free. We're giving our time.
Yeah, for free. For free. I've got to mention that.
Nothing. Yeah. All we want is people to watch it and love it. If you hate it, we want your feedback. We want to know why. So even if you want to watch it to diss us, give us our dissing. We will take the disrespecting and we will turn it into something positive, because we are the Outcasts!
Right. Fantastic. Paul?
What? Fair is foul and foul is fair. That's an original quote of mine.
Brilliant. I don't think we need any more. That's fantastic. Thank you. Toby?
Yeah, I want to reiterate what you said about the flag on the moon. It's
it is actually there. I checked on Google Moon.
I'll put it in slightly less offensive terms, but yeah, it's come along and see the show. It's live. I'm tried out my best, and we're trying to create a live experience. So come and watch it. Some of the best bits on stage are when they go wrong. It's magical. So,
and it is possible that this could be renamed the Henry V that goes wrong.
No. There is no wrong. There are no mistakes. There's only choices.
Lance, is that copyright? I think that's already taken.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you're right, because they kind of name all their shows that. Okay. So guys, thanks for tuning in. Wow, this is a bit longer than we planned. We're supposed to be an hour. It's 79 minutes.
Yeah.
But it is the red wine edition. So do join us. Subscribe to the channel. There's going to be some new interesting things happening with the Outcast channel. Suzette Pluck and I will be doing a sub-channel on the Outcast Creative where we're going to be reviewing our favourite drama shows, the first of which will be The Shield. Very tiny piece of artwork there. But so we're looking forward to doing that. That's going to be coming up soon. We've got another production coming up that we're going to perform live in July. And there's two versions of it. It's called The Warm-Up. Dickon will be brushing up the cast on one of those. I will be brushing up the cast on the other. All of the characters in the warm-up are based on people that have been performing in the Outcasts, but will be played by a different member of the Outcasts. And in the new version of the warm-up, you can look forward to a certain Horse Lord character and an interesting princess, a spectacles character. So there's some new characters that would feel very familiar to some of our regulars, possibly a curly head American, all sorts going to be cropping up in the warm-up. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be performed live with only one rehearsal. So it's going to be tremendous fun, a lot of comedy. That's on in July. 4 performances of Henry V, Henry's War, coming up next week. Do tune in, spread the word. All social media shout-outs are appreciated. Anything to add, Suzette? Power Behind the Throne.
No, just to say that, yes, please do subscribe to the channel and like the Outcast page on Facebook, where you can keep up to date with everything we're doing.